Is this finally a good time to buy in Frisco? Because for years, most buyers would start here, see the prices, and immediately find somewhere else. But in 2026, that story has started to change. Homes are sitting longer and prices are cooling, which means buyers actually have some leverage. So does Frisco finally make some sense? Or are there still better options out there? In today's video, I'm gonna break this down in a few different angles. We'll talk about what actually is happening in the market right now, what you realistically can get in Frisco, and at the end, I'll tell you who this area makes sense for and who should be looking somewhere else. I'm Emily Herendon, Dallas area realtor, and my husband Tim and I have been helping people just like you buy and sell homes here in the Dallas area since 2015. Feel free to subscribe to our channel, and if you'd like us to help you with a move here, give us a call, text, or email. Before we get to the numbers, let's talk about why Frisco became the go-to suburb in the first place. Because that context matters if you're deciding if it's still worth it today. There were really 4 reasons why Frisco became so popular to begin with. Number 1 was location. Frisco sits just north of Plano's Legacy Business Park, nearly 2,700 acres that started developing in the 80s and is now home to major employers. That whole Legacy area sits right at the intersection of 2 of the biggest highways in North Dallas, the Dallas North Tollway and Sam Rayburn Tollway, which makes getting to Dallas or the DFW airport pretty easy. But more importantly, that gave Frisco a huge advantage as the metro expanded north. The accessibility made it attractive not just for buyers, but for companies too, which is a big reason why development started concentrating around this corridor. Number 2 was growth and development. This wasn't just population growth, this was the right kind of growth. Frisco saw huge increases in population and also rising income, strong job creation, and a highly educated workforce. Those are the type of fundamentals that attract long-term investment. On top of that, the city moved fast. They were aggressive with development. They made deals happen quickly. And that's how you ended up with projects like the Star and everything built around it. And once that kind of investment starts, it feeds on itself. More companies move in, more people follow. Number 3 was new construction and master planned communities. For a long time, Frisco had large pieces of developable land, especially along the tollway, which made it more accessible for developers. That's why you see many newer homes, modern layouts, and amenity-rich communities compared to older suburbs. And number 4 was schools. Frisco ISD built a strong reputation pretty quickly, and for a lot of people, that alone was enough to put Frisco at the top of their list. You didn't have to live closer to Dallas to get top-rated schools anymore. So for a long time, Frisco was the easy answer. If you could afford it, you bought here. If you couldn't, you looked south to Plano, west to Little Elm, east to McKinney, or further north to places like Aubrey, Salina, or Prosper before those prices started climbing too. But in 2026, the bigger story is that Frisco isn't one uniform market. You've still got areas with development ahead, newer homes, new projects, and some of that future growth feel. But at the same time, you've also got neighborhoods that are 20, 30, even 40 years old, where things have already matured and leveled off. And even though it's all packed into the same 69 square mile suburb, it doesn't behave like one market. And that's where things start to feel inconsistent. Because depending on where you're looking and the specific home, you might come across something that feels like a really good deal, and then 5 minutes away, something that feels noticeably overpriced. All right, let's make this practical. I want to actually break down what you can get in Frisco with real numbers, no fluff, no spin. When we made this video, about 65% of the homes for sale were built in the 2000s or 2010s. That's when Frisco really took off. So most of what you're seeing is resale from that era. About 11% were built in the 90s or earlier, another 11% were built in the early 2020s, and roughly 13% are brand new construction. Price-wise, about 20% of today's active listings are listed under $500,000. If you're shopping closer to $400,000, you're typically looking at a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home built 15 to 25 years ago. You might find options in places like Plantation Resort, Frisco Lakes, which is a 55 and over community, or some West Frisco pockets near Lake Louisville. About 34% of listings fell between $500,000 and $750,000. Around $600,000 is where I think a lot of Frisco's value sits. You're typically getting 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, built in the 2000s or 2010s, and you can still get into most parts of Frisco at that price point. There are even some newer options here. Fields East Village, which is going to be a walkable district by the Universal Resort and Theme Park, and all of the new retail coming into that area, those homes start in the 500,000s. Hazelwood by Normandy Homes offers single-family homes in the 700s. This is also nearby to the PGA headquarters, but you avoid the price markup by not being a part of the Fields. Then about 24% of homes are between $750,000 and just under $1 million. Around $800,000, you're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, often in well-known communities like Edgestone, The Grove, or Phillips Creek Ranch. And then just about 22% of homes for sale are over $1 million. That doesn't mean 22% of Frisco homes are in that range, just that a large portion of current inventory is high-end. And this is where you'll find communities like Newman Village, Starwood, Stonebriar, and the Hills at Kingswood. So no matter where you land, it's going to come down to trade-offs. So let's have a brief look at the pros and cons. One of the biggest advantages Frisco has right now is that compared to suburbs further north, it feels like a finished product. You're not moving into an area that's still figuring itself out. You already know what it is. The major anchors are here, the retail is here, the restaurants are here, and most of the infrastructure people usually wait years for is already in place. Now, that doesn't mean that growth is completely done. You still see construction, especially in the northern part. But compared to some place like Salina, which still has a lot of open land, Frisco feels much more established. And for a lot of buyers, that certainly matters. It also offers a level of stability that you do not see in newer suburbs. Frisco isn't growing at the same pace that it used to, but it's more predictable. You've got a strong corporate presence and a more mature feel overall. And right now, buyers actually have some leverage. Homes are sitting longer, sellers are adjusting expectations, and you don't have to rush into every listing the second it hits the market. That doesn't mean that everything is a deal, but you do have room to be more selective. But here are the trade-offs. The biggest one is that you're not early anymore. Most of the appreciation has already happened. So when you buy in Frisco today, you're paying for what's already there, not necessarily what it might become. You also start to feel the price versus value conversation. Compared to prices like Salina or Aubrey, you're usually getting less house for the money, and for a lot of buyers, that's where Frisco starts to lose them. You're also going to notice less new construction opportunities than you'll find in the northern suburbs. While there are still some builders here, you don't have the same level of choices as you're going to find in Prosper, Salina, or McKinney. And then there's the traffic. As development has continued, especially near the Tollway and PGA corridor, it's gotten busier. It's not unmanageable, but it's definitely something people notice compared to what Frisco felt like 10 or 15 years ago. So when you put that all together, whether you buy in Frisco or somewhere else, it all comes down to what you value the most. Frisco is a great fit for buyers who want more certainty. If you're relocating and don't want to guess about schools, development, or amenity, Frisco removes a lot of that uncertainty. It's already built, already established, and you know what you're getting. It also works for buyers that want to prioritize location and convenience. You're close to major job hubs, you've got access to the tollway, and a lot of the lifestyle features people move here for are already in place. And for some buyers, it's simply about the lifestyle. They don't want to deal with construction zones or wait years for a neighborhood to come together. In Frisco, it already feels complete. And for many, that's worth paying a premium. But on the flip side, it's not for everyone. If your goal is to maximize value, this is usually where people believe that Frisco falls short. You'll typically get more house, newer homes, or more features for the same price in places like Salina or Aubrey. It's also not ideal if you're chasing explosive appreciation. Most of the big upside has already happened here. So if you're trying to get in early, you need to look further north. And if you specifically want brand new construction with a lot of options, choosing your lot, your plan, your finishes, you'll find more of that outside of Frisco. Well, I hope this breakdown was helpful, and if you'd like to have a conversation about what it would look like for you to buy in the Dallas area, give us a call, text, or email. We'll see you next time.